is the Chevy Corvette Z06, a sports car that seems to have captured everyone's imagination, and not just here in the US. The Z06 is building a reputation as a spellbinding sports car that's so good it can compete with even European rivals, costing over 3 times the price. I love the standard C8 Stingray. That car's a no-brainer, but this is next level. This is a car for people who love to drive. This is a car for the connoisseur.
And it so happens that this particular Z06 belongs to just such a person. This is Jesse Iwuji, Corvette enthusiast, professional NASCAR driver, and NASCAR team owner. Competing part-time in the NASCAR Xfinity Series in the number 34 car, he's racked up 15 races over 3 years, showing a deep love of high-end motorsport, and can regularly be found driving his Z06 through Los Angeles. Today, I've somehow convinced Jesse to let me drive his pride and joy. And the question I have is, what makes a NASCAR driver choose a Z06 over everything else?
Certainly looks the part, doesn't it? It's all edges and sharp lines. Beautiful looking car. Is it that different compared to the standard Stingray? I'm not so sure, but there are differences if you look closely. Most notably in the front with this much larger and more pronounced grille. The front splitter as well is also larger and a little bit more aggressive than before to my eyes. And then around the side, this color by the way is called Amplify Orange. The thing that stands out most on a Z06 is this Y-shaped air intake. It's C-shaped on the standard C8, and the car also comes with more rubber. 20-inch by 10-inch 275 up front and 21 by 13 345s at the rear. It's also 3.5 inches wider than before. It has the option of carbon fiber wheels, but this car doesn't actually have it. What it does have is this very fetching set of aftermarket forged light wheels finished in this incredible looking top secret golden bronze color. It's also been lowered by 1/2 inch, so the wheels fill the arches much nicer than before. And if you look closely, you'll also find some carbon ceramic brakes. Around the back, definitely quite exotic, isn't it? You get a choice of rear wing on your Z06. You can have the high downforce wing, which looks a bit like an alien weapon, or this classier low downforce wing. Look closely and you get this little black section on top of it. That is called the wicker bill, or a gurney flap as we would probably refer to it in Europe. Now this is important because it adds a ton of downforce, over 145 kilograms more at 186 miles an hour than without it. Very, very impressive. Also, the exhausts. The standard Stingray has quad exhausts and they're pushed out on either side. However, on the Z06, they've been grouped together directly in the middle, and I think it looks tremendous. Different enough to the standard Stingray? No, but I love it anyway.
Naturally, looks aren't everything, because the big advantage this Z06 has over the standard model is its engine, which is not only mounted in the middle, but this time takes the form of a naturally aspirated V8, making ridiculous power. Notably, Chevy has deviated from the cross-plane crank setup typical of American sports cars and opted for a more European-style flat-plane crank, and the results are explosive.
And this engine really is the star of the show. All Corvettes are mid-engine, but this one, being a flat plane crank, has a completely different character to what you'd expect from a Corvette. The sound is just out of this world. I'm familiar with American V8s. I've got a Mustang, and the typical noise is a low, gruff sound, but this thing just howls, especially as you get towards the top of the rev range. It sounds absolutely glorious. It's a noise you normally associate with European sports cars, like Ferraris. And that shouldn't come as a surprise because Chevy has readily admitted that in the development of this car, they actually bought a Ferrari V8 off eBay, reverse engineered it, learned what made it good, and then used what they learned in the development of the Z06. And it looks like they've learned an awful lot. Power is 670 horses, torque 623 newton meters, and those numbers are astonishing because this thing isn't supercharged, it's not turbocharged, It's naturally aspirated, it's just breathing air. Now, handling, that's what the Z06 is all about, and believe me, it handles beautifully. I'm thinking back to the first time I experienced the standard Stingray, and what I found was that that car was so soft and so plush. It was set up almost to feel like a Grand Tourer, but immediately hopping into this thing, it feels much more racy, much more engaging, and everything the car does feels much more focused. Oh yeah, and the front end hasn't got the biggest, widest tires in the world, but it does bite. It's brilliant. The steering isn't the fastest, but it's incredibly precise. I'm watching for my apex up ahead. I don't think I've missed a single one yet, because every single time you point the nose, it goes exactly where you want it to go. What a car.
And all of that might go some way to explaining why a racing driver for whom precision is as important as power would buy a Z06, a driver like Jesse Iwuji.
My love for Corvettes began actually back in 2013. I was looking for a car that was going to be a daily driver-friendly type vehicle that was still sporty. At that time, I had a Dodge Challenger that was like 900 horsepower, fully built. I needed something a little bit more friendly that's still sporty, and I came across a C6 Z06 and decided that I wanted to buy it. I bought it, and within a couple of weeks, I decided to start taking it to the track and road coursing, and then that led me towards a lot more than just track days to eventually professional racing. The biggest difference that I've found between the last generation with the C7 Z06 and even the C6 Z06 and now this C8 Z06 is grip. And every other Z06 I've ever had, they've never really had that type of traction that you needed, especially on the streets or even just on street tires, period. It's never really had that dig type traction that you really expect until you get to a drag strip and throw on drag radials. But with this C8 Z06 from the get-go, even on its street tires, on its daily street tires, it still just grips and rips. And that's what I absolutely love about this car. You can actually have fun with it on the street. You're not worrying about just roasting through the rear tires, and it does what you want at all times. Biggest differences between this amazing C8 Z06 and my race car in the NASCAR Xfinity Series is power's very close, power is very similar, but handling wise, I mean, the amount of electronics that you have in this car, whereas in NASCAR, our race cars are in a way kind of old school technology. We have a solid rear axle, we have a carbureted motor, 700 horsepower, full on cage tube chassis. The car is just a big gorilla. Like, it's just brute, just monster. It's not really meant to be super nimble, yet we figured out a way to dial in our suspension, dial in the car so they could be as nimble as possible, but you just have to just drive the thing around, and you gotta drive it hard like a rhino. This isn't like a rhino, this is more like a leopard.
And with that, it was only right that I asked the man himself to show me what his car could really do around Willow Springs. So we hopped aboard the Z06 and unleashed that 670 horsepower flat plane crank V8.
Okay, here's the lap of Big Willow. Talk us through it, Jesse.
So we are heading up the front stretch right now, Big Willow. You want to get as much speed as possible. Stay over here to the right, but you're on the brake super hard going to turn one, downshift to fourth, downshift to third, turn into that last cone. You're going to want to get down to this apex here, power out of it, shift up to fourth. As you're heading over here to turn three, on the brake a little bit, lift off that brake, let it coast in, but you're going to want to get as close as possible to this inside. Try to feed as much speed as possible. The car is either going to push or it's going to get a little sideways on you. Be ready to catch it, because this Z06 will bite you. You're on the throttle hard, on the throttle hard, on the brake again, going into this corner, downshift to third, turn in at the last cone. You want to bring it down here to the apex. Be ready for the car to slide just a little bit coming up this track. This car can get a little squirmy on you, on the brake a little bit, turn in, get down here to the apex so you can power out. You're still in third gear right now, still in third gear, on the brake here, just like, get off of it, come into the middle,
Yes.
turn in. The car does turn in very good as long as you get the weight to transfer forward as quick as possible. When you go over that crest, you're going to want to get off the throttle a little bit. You don't want to be wide open going through there, or else you're going to go on a ride. Fastest corner in the world. You're going through turn 8 at Willow Springs.
This is scary.
It's a very scary corner. We're not even going maxed out right now, and it's still a little sketch. You're going to downshift going in here. We're getting ready for turn 9, which is definitely a scary corner for a lot. Downshift to third, turn down, get close to this apex right here. You're on the throttle hard. Upshift hit the fourth, and you're rolling up this front stretch. You're gonna wanna shift to fifth before you even get down here to the end on fifth. We're in fifth right now. On the brake hard, on the brake. Downshift to fourth, downshift to third. Turn in, carry as much speed as you can, but definitely don't lose it. I've lost it in this corner one time. It wasn't that fun to lose it today, bro. Yeah.
Chevy's Corvette has regularly punched above its weight, coming in far lower in price and arguably ability than European rivals. But generation after generation, it's improved massively and arguably no longer plays second fiddle to the cars it competes against. Chevy's taken all the learnings it's acquired over the years, particularly with this latest engine borrowing so heavily from Ferrari, and packaged them in a car that now competes at the very top of the food chain. For me, it's now one of the very best in the world. But don't just take my word for it.
For all those who are not big fans of the Corvette, who say that's a poor man's supercar, whatever it is, what I would say to them is, come race me. Let's get on track. And let's see your Porsche, your Ferrari, your whatever you want to bring it. If it's under the price range of $300,000, bring it to the track and let's see what happens.